Hi! It took me so long to get back into videos I had time to update my Sona. And do a whole bunch of other things. But better late than quit forever, am I right? Anyway, welcome back to the Pantheon of SANDBOX series. This is the third part of me designing the deities that oversee my original world, and after almost a whole fucking year since the last episodes, I think we need to kick things up a notch. So instead of 2 gods at a time, we're doing 4! Make sure to watch the playlist on my channel for the previous designs, and just to watch the series in full. It's been a long time coming, so let's draw up and lore dump some deific dudes already. First one I want to talk about is Q, aka Quetzalcoatl. Y'all know who this snaky lad is, the feathered serpent of legend, the god of light, wind, arts, and learning, the poster boy of the Aztec pantheon, that Quetzalcoatl. Q was one of the handful of gods to not fight during the Divine War, instead focusing time to figure out a way for the next world after the old one gets folded like a burnt omelet won't end up the same way. Regardless of Q's involvement in its creation, Q is a shoo-in for the new pantheon given what domains he covers. Best way I can describe my Q's personality would be the type of person who brings tons of positive vibes for others, but not much for himself. After seeing the world he helped flourish be flattened 6 times now, you'd have some confidence issues too. He can collect himself out of a downward spiral fairly well, especially in regards to his duties as a deity. Q's complete control of air and light makes him an extremely unique and powerful elemental. Q is not only capable of light speed movement, but also able to manipulate the entirety of the color spectrum to his will. He is fully capable of some god-tier electric soldier Porygon shit. Even able to overwhelm the senses of eldritch horrors which are usually beyond any senses. This is all on top of being able to control the winds and air around him completely. Q's influence in general allows for a strong atmosphere that can withstand pollution. He also makes it so folks are more creative, more understanding, and more capable of learning new things than usual, which isn't as major a buff as you'd think, but it's better than what we're used to these days. The ideals that Q brings to the Pantheon are that of pure positive vibes. Simply enjoy the fresh air and create with all the colors you want just for the joy of it. For his design, my only goal was to make him as vibrant as possible to reflect the ancient art of his original culture, his ideals and powers, and just his general ray of sunshine best boy vibe. I think I succeeded because he not only feels like a friend, but also doesn't burn my eyes with gaudiness. Also, for the record, he does not condone human sacrifices. He did not tell anyone in the old worlds to do that. He didn't think he needed to say anything at the time. But you know, hindsight and all, so yeah. Next up is a simpler concept. For the god of war of SANDBOX, we have the god of thunder himself, Thor! Some know-it-alls will probably comment that Thor isn't a war god, but like, come on. He's a god of strength. He is the mightiest warrior of the Aesir with unmatched bravery, loyalty, and brute force, and he loves to fight and fixes every problem as such. Sounds like a perfect war god candidate to me. Thor in SANDBOX is the embodiment of storms, the symbol of the strength and heart of a warrior. He loves battles regardless of motives. He applauds both honor and trickery. He will accept prayers from both heroes and villains. He'll even set the mood with his thunderclouds if a fight is epic enough. However, he isn't hyper-aggressive or eggs on conflicts like you'd think with his title. He simply enjoys fights, and enjoys being who either side prays to for good luck, or even a strength boost if he favors them enough. Sort of like a fusion of Marvel's Thor, it leaks Brawl, and a little bit of Brawl. Maybe some others I'm not thinking of, I don't know. Also, while Thor has dropped his agriculture domain, he likes to help Gaia in her garden from time to time. Again, he's not intense all the time. Even the god of war knows when to take some nice relaxing breaks. For Thor's design, I wanted to give him a full suit of armor to really sell his role as the god of war. I'm also a sucker for thundercloud aesthetics, so I had to slap on some crackling clouds for his cool cape. I had him built like Thor from the God of War games. I thought it was a perfect build for him. It just makes sense a god of strength would live a diet and workout plan that maximizes the body for strength rather than beauty. The optimized gut is peak. I also made sure to have references to his actual mythology like his red hair and beard, the proper shape of Mjolnir, and adding goat horns to his helmet as reference to the goats that pulled Thor's chariot. He came out absolutely badass, and I'm very proud to have figured out my own take of such a well-known god. While writing the script, I had an idea, so time for a retcon interlude. In the first video, I said that Typhon took down Zeus after Zeus tried to destroy the world, because humans made peace with monsters by the end of a 20-year war. However, I'm changing this so Typhon took down Zeus way earlier, like ancient civilization times of SANDBOX. This just makes more sense to me as it grants a longer time frame to allow Typhon to establish deeper bonds with the other gods, and establish his role in the mortals' belief system too. Typhon's ascension so early on would also boost most monster kind into sentience, which then kickstarts the massive world war between them and the humans, only cementing how impactful the gods are for this world. Personally happier with how this lore shapes up now. Anyway, back to the art and lore. Next up is the resident trickster god and keeper of stories, Anansi. Originally, I had chosen Loki for the role since I had Thor as well, but I decided against it because Loki is a troublemaker. An asshole, if you will. And I didn't want any drama amongst my pantheon, as that's not what I want to focus on with this world building. I chose Anansi not only because he's my favorite trickster god of all, but also because he has a lot more to offer the world than just lies and mischief. Anansi, if you don't know, is a spider god from African lore who has plenty of stories of him messing with people and skillfully getting away from the consequences and just generally achieving great feats through cunning alone. But his most famous story is the one where Anansi won stories. How do you win stories? Let me tell you. Anansi got bored and realized it's because there are no stories in the world. They're all being hoarded by the god of stories. Anansi demanded endless free entertainment for everyone, well, mainly him, but still, and so was challenged to capture the four most dangerous and elusive creatures, which he does through expert cleverness and trickery. And now you know why we say spin a yarn, weave a tale, because, you know, a spider won the domain of stories. You can tell why Anansi was chosen in-universe for the Pantheon, as stories are a very important part of humanity. Hell, he has further power in the modern day as we constantly tell stories on the World Wide Web. See what I did there? Anansi is god of the public domain and the internet. Y'all better respect and leave a like. Anansi never cared for strengths, so he's the absolute smallest god of the lot, about as high as an average mortal. But not only is he extremely intelligent and tricky, but due to his domain has extreme knowledge of every trope, so he's always prepared for what comes up. Combined with his webs being strong enough to restrain Thor, and you can see why he's a valuable asset both in terms of universal benefit, but also in defense against the Eldritch. For his design, I wanted to go Drider because, of course, I just like Driders, which made me think maybe in this continuity he's a direct son of Gaia, which would make him Typhon and Q all siblings. Which makes sense, because Africa is home to the cradle of humankind and is most likely where we people started. But anyway, not only do I just like Driders, it also reflects how Anansi is typically depicted as a man-headed spider, so it works. I also use his common depictions as inspos for his clothing patterns, did my best to recall how African fashion looked, his colors coming from black widows and tarantulas, and he has a big book of infinite pages and infinite Earth stories with him held by two of his arms, which I think gives an illusion to how peacock spiders do their thing. I'm really happy with Anansi's design and happy to have him in my pantheon because he's a very underappreciated god from an underrepresented region of folklore. Seriously, why is Greece the easiest mythology to research? It's bullshit. Last but certainly not least, we have Sun Wukong, the Monkey King! Sorry, I got excited. This is yet another very well-known character of legend and pop culture, so I don't need to go in depth on who he is for you. Also, because the journey to the west is an extremely long, if great story that I have no time or energy to finish, let alone summarize for a video like this. Anyway, despite being my favorite mythological figure of all time, I wasn't sure if I should have him on board, but then I realized I can do whatever the fuck I want! Screw the rules, I got Monkey! My favorite thing about my SANDBOX lore for Sun Wukong is that he wasn't initially invited to be part of the new Pantheon. He invited himself! After a few years of Typhon's rule, Sun Wukong decided to feel nostalgic and raided the heavens for funsies, challenging the entire Pantheon to a fight, threatening to fight the entire world if they don't indulge him. The heavens shook for an entire divine week, which is a whole year for us mortals. The gods never staying down for good, but not being able to take out Sun because he's literally immortal times 7. That's not even a joke, look it up. Typhon was getting sick of this game as a year-long stalemate was keeping them all from maintaining the world properly. So Snake Daddy offered the Monkey King a spot on the Pantheon, preferring his might would be used for protecting and inspiring SANDBOX, rather than this ridiculousness. Sun Wukong happily took the offer, finally recognized as worthy of being a true god, even if by sheer annoyance of him on the opposite side. Since it was his desire for glory that got him here, Sun took on the role of God of Glory. Over time, the rest of the gods got to know him better. He's abrasive and egotistical, but he isn't a legendary hero for no reason. He does have a loyal heart of gold deep in there. Also, it turned out glory wasn't just a self-proclaimed ego thing. Glory is actually a good domain for the world. The sheer determination and desire to accomplish and satisfy one's goals in life. To conquer any challenge because you truly want to for yourself. Just pure power of will and motivation and determination, it's fucking great. As you can imagine, Sun Wukong is a front-line offense against any invading Eldritch forces. He's immortal to the 7th power, he's got shapeshifting and Shadow no Jutsu shit. He's got a staff that weighs more than Gaia herself that can stretch it to an infinite length. He's got a lightspeed cloud to ride on, super stats up the wazoo. This funky monkey is an absolute menace, weapon, and force. Can you tell I love power scaling? Point is, he's very good at protecting the world, if he can actually find the problems that slip in. He's not the most intelligent here. Also, I think Thor and Sun would be best bros. War and glory just goes hand in hand. For the design, I kept it very simple. Not much to say, as there wasn't really a whole lot of creative liberties I needed to take beyond my own art style. I think it's a great, simple, but effective design that, in my opinion, really does justice to my favorite mythological monkey man. And there we have it! Part 3 is over! 4 more best boys for the Pantheon. I personally love each of them, but which is your favorite of this batch? You can see all these designs and the previous ones on my DeviantArt and maybe other places if I remember to use any of them. Lol. I'm gonna try my damnedest to make the next parts. I really want to complete this series and create even more after it. Until then, thank you for watching, and I hope you'll subscribe or at least come watch me again. See y'all next time, and have a good one!